Good evening, everybody. Let's call this meeting of the Southland School District Board of Directors to order. Please join me in the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First up, we have the consent agenda. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Passes unanimously. Next up, we have student representative report.
Well, I'll let Laura start off with our biggest thing yet, which was the Lion Pride pageant.
Okay, so on April 27th, or not April 27th, April 19th, we had the Lion Pride pageant, which was a huge success. Everybody loved it. We actually ended up having a representative from the Children's Miracle Network come and tell us that it was the best pageant they've ever seen, which was really exciting. $22,573 was raised, which actually, which actually ended up breaking the school record for amount of money raised at CGHS. Cole Kishin and Carly DeJarlis were the winners, and Carly actually won the Congeniality Award as well. So it was a really exciting night for everybody, and we saved the baby. So, and then this Wednesday, actually, we've got a big group of kids from the Bug Club at the high school, and some from not in the club, but we're going to the Portland Zoo on Wednesday to see the bug exhibit, which is really exciting. And then also we just had prom. It was on the 27th, and a lot of people went, a lot of people had fun. The DJ was a high school DJ, but everybody had fun, and it was very enjoyable. So thank you.
Some of you saw we had the Rhythm and Blues, which was this weekend. An amazing show, I'll say that much. Great musicians and great skits and everything. Really, my personal favorite was Bro Ken, which is, I love Ken, you know. We had our track and field had a meet this last Friday, a pretty good meet. We had schools from about Klamath Falls to Pine Falls come out. Our boys team hit third overall, which is amazing for them. I mean, really, we have some great teams here. And then we got some of our members on the team going to districts and state. Am I right, Hayes? Hopefully. Well, we're gonna, you know, I'm ready for them. And then that's really it. All right. That concludes it. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And do we have anybody from? Oh, Hayes. Okay. And do we have anybody from Kennedy this evening? No. Okay.
They did their report.
All right. And the OSEA and SLEA representatives both sent us reports that will be in our email soon.
Stephanie is online.
Oh, okay.
That's my report.
We'll give Stephanie a second to see if she wants to chime in, or if not, we have a report. So.
Like me, she's looking for that, but.
Right.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, it was taking a long time to get me in there for some reason. Good evening. Nice to see everyone. First, on behalf of SLEA, I really want to acknowledge all of our amazing teachers and specialists. This is their week, but every day they're amazing, and their care and commitment to our students, the families, and to their coworkers they just express that every day and all the wonderful things they do. And we just want them to know that OSEA and Classified really appreciate everything they do. Little bit about our news. We're grateful that we have our new contract approved by the members and signed by everyone, including the school board. I can genuinely say, being a part of 2 bargaining sessions now, that this one was really a wonderful experience. I attribute this to the dedication of OSEA and district leadership because of our mutual respect and collaboration. We will be holding our final chapter meeting for this school year tomorrow. We'll announce then the election results of our officers for 2024-25, as well as the scholarship winner for our $500 scholarship. Sheila, my vice president, Sheila Healy, and I will be meeting with Rita Doland in the coming month so that we can start working on all the things for next year. And also talks about meeting with classified employees who just might need to sit down and touch base to reconnect about any of their forms or insurance questions. And we're planning on doing that throughout the summer. We're also pleased to say that having met with Rita and Brian McCaslane, there's very few number of classified people that are still having any issues on that spreadsheet for payroll. And the ones that are remaining are not necessarily with their paycheck, but just questions that they have. And we can answer those together, sitting down in meetings with them. That's really all we have, but we are looking forward to next year and continuing the collaboration that we built to repair the last few years. We're really, really looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much. And really good to hear that at least most of the payroll things have been resolved. So thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have Matt Allen with maintenance.
So
Without a PTSD warning here.
no, we're good. We had a lot of help. So I was tasked with giving you guys a quick little preview of what happened on our ice storm, and then after this, we'll go into some of our larger summer projects. So ice storm of 2024, we lost 19 trees, completely lost. That one on the right's the big oak tree that was at the back of the high school. It just imploded on itself. The one on the left is like an 80-foot tall pin oak in front of Bohemian. This is the front of the high school. Also front of the high school. That's the front of Lincoln and the back of Lincoln, where the buses park. Back of Lincoln, back of the high school. I don't remember where that one was taken. This is one of the 12 penetrations that branches went through the roof at Lincoln Middle School. So I'm gonna need to go to that. So the initial work was to clear the parking areas and driving lanes, which took us about 3 days. The whole administration team and district office team walked all of our district facilities and grounds to survey and document other storm-related damage, which saved my team a lot of time because to go into every single classroom, every room in the building takes some time, and they actually kept notes and then gave us all those notes so we know, what to triage and what could wait a little bit. Brian and Celia helped us by tracking and submitting all of the insurance and FEMA claims, which was a huge help. So we just kind of gave them our estimates, and then as we actually got totals back in, we gave them to them so that they were accurate. Once we had the trees cut and piled, which our crew did, we hired an excavation contractor with large 10-yard dump trucks to haul debris to the area that the city of Cottage Grove provided us at Bohemia Park. We hauled just over 100 10-yard truckloads off of South Plains School District property. The main cleanup took us about 30 days, and to this day, we are still cleaning up in some of the hard to reach areas and courtyards, in interior courtyards. And I'm thanking all of our building principals and staff for being patient. We did that also. We were minus one whole guy on our crew, gone on paternity leave. And even with that, none of our guys complained. We had Brian showing up for all of the events, so his presence was known, even one of them, which was like 10 o'clock at night, I think. So it felt good to have Brian there too. Part of the other issues we had were the unstable power when it started to come back on. Caused us a lot of headache and a lot of money. Hopefully we get all that back in insurance, but we lost 9 large blower motors, meaning 20 horse or bigger. We lost 5 motor contactors. It's just a large relay. We lost an entire access control, your key fob, the actual panel that controls that for a building. I lost an elevator hydraulic pump motor, 1 in-house transformer at the high school, 6 in HVAC control circuit boards, 3 hydronic pump motors, 46 lighting ballasts and drivers, and 3 main fire panels. This is what a contactor or a motor starter relay looks like. These are some of the motors that failed and some more of the contactors. This is the elevator pit for the gym at the high school. It's not supposed to be full of water. And we didn't know it was full of water until the first time we used it, and it sounded like it was raining underneath it. So you couldn't see that, but also power related, the air compressor that keeps air in all of the fire suppression lines in the stadium so they don't freeze. We didn't even think about it. Well, as the air bled off over days time, as soon as the air goes away, the water comes. And so it filled that elevator pit. But anyway, it could have been a lot worse, and we had great help from everybody. We didn't feel like we were left alone on that one. So the next one will be a snapshot of some of our bigger summer projects. We're not going into detail on everything unless you guys want to know, but I think we were right at $189,000. So yeah, and I think part of it will be through insurance. I mean, Celia can talk more to that, and part of it will be through the government, but yeah. Yep.
So that's total damage.
That doesn't include a lot of our labor, but some of our labor. Mhm. What qualified was about 189,000.
You know, a lot of people during the hour.
Right.
So, we're kind of in the process.
So on our regular insurance base, we turned in, thank you, Rita. We've turned in 2 of the 3 claims, and we've gotten reimbursed on 2. And the third one just went in, and then the FEMA will come next. One of the early ones was, we lost a freezer, kitchen freezer, and that we had to replace right away. So that was turned in, and we got reimbursed for that. So it's a process, but actually the insurance has a pretty quick turnaround on that.
Yeah, I would say too, that doesn't account for damage like that in our food service or technology stuff for Jesse. That's just ours. So. Okay, on a more positive note, summer projects for coming up. This is a covered play for Dorena Elementary. They are currently the only elementary school in the district that does not have one. And Devin Pixton, the building principal, worked her tail off to get donations and or fundraising to make this happen. So I've been doing job walks on it, but we actually accept all bids, have to be in by 3:30 on the 14th. And then from there, we will go through that process to see who we're going to award the contract to, and that thing should be ready for kiddos next year to play under. It's 32 by 68, I think, if I remember right. It's fairly large, 14-foot eve height, so smaller kids can actually play basketball under it. This is an interior picture of some of the things that have been pretty much as long as I've been supervisor, we've been dedicating money into trying to keep the play structure at Bohemia in decent shape. We're to that point now where we're doing a little more of the fun stuff, like here's one of my guys actually doing some of the work on the tongue and groove interior stuff. Some of the stuff the staff actually wants reconfigured so it isn't making blind spots. So that's been fun for us to work on. But anyway, over the last 6 years, we've replaced 12 of the large posts, several of the benches, and installed a new roof. This summer, we'll begin replacing the rotted tongue and groove lumber sections in the high sections. We're going to completely re-roof, tear off and re-roof the gym at Lincoln Middle School. It's been leaking for a couple of years now. So long time coming. Brian helped us find the funding for that, which was awesome because it's a pretty big ticket item. The student advisory came to me just a few months ago, and there's some of this is just an example of after, but there's a lot of the girls' restrooms have a very short stall with a very high bottom, and it was awesome that they actually came to me and we had a meeting about it, and we got to discuss with them how it was going to happen and what they actually wanted for privacy. So that's something that we're going to do in-house this summer. We're going to do some roof coatings on the roofs out at Kennedy. Frankly, it's all we can afford to do right now, but just to kind of keep things from, we haven't seen damage in the building, but we have some breezeway damage. So this will be something that hopefully will buy us about 5 years. We're going to crack seal and coat and stripe the parking lot at Kennedy High School. It is in dire need. We're going to replace some failed parking lot lights and lighting control panels at Cottage Grove High School, specifically for the parking. We're going to do excavation and 20 additional parking spots. It's a gravel lot at London Elementary. So their staff has grown, and then when they do events where they bring Dorina in, that will give them more places to park and not be so crowded and cause traffic issues. This year we have to do internal maintenance and state inspections on all 10 boilers in the district. And essentially what that means, that picture on the left is the center picture boilers, but with them opened up. So we rod tubes, we re-pour the refractory in the doors and open everything up so the inspector can come in and look for cracks or any issues that might shut us down. Knock on wood, we've never been shut down. Three of us are going to inspect electronics and clean coils, check refrigerant charge on 77 heat pumps and AC units. And that's it.
No big deal.
It's gonna be.
It's pretty normal.
It's gonna be a busy summer.
It's pretty normal.
So
We've had a lot busier summers.
How are you going to spend all your vacation?
Usually I don't, but that's
Yeah.
okay. No, we're looking forward to it. It'll be fun to get past the storm and actually do some things that are positive instead of just trying to catch up.
Yeah, for sure.
If I could comment on what Matt talked about with regards to the storm. His crew was at the ready, for a week. Not only were they working all day, but they were at the ready at night. So as soon as power came on in any of those, any of our buildings, his crew was there, whether they'd worked all day or not, and they have. And worked as late into the night as they needed to get buildings up and running so that we could get back to Monday as soon as possible. And it just was, there's, like Matt said, there was never a complaint. I was there a lot of the time, and they don't complain as well. It's just a great crew with great leadership. So
I would say too, as long as we're throwing kudos out, having Brian show up at 10:30 at night at the high school when we're trying to get the HVAC running. I mean, I get to talk to Brian on a regular basis, but my guys don't. It went a long way with them, so.
they have to be up at 10:30. So
And I'm pretty sure they went home to cold houses for themselves.
They did, but so did everybody else. And I mean, it's like the linemen, they were catching a lot of grief during that. And most of those guys are going home to a cold house. So if everybody showed a little more kindness and consideration would be great.
Tell you guys, thank you. I remember driving by Lincoln for a couple weeks after, and I saw the other Brian out there.
Yep.
Doing free stuff.
Yep.
Guys up in free.
You saw Brian because he was on the ground. Did you look up?
Yeah, I saw the guys that were professionals in the tree.
So Sam, I
Brian
think
was doing clean up and stuff, so.
the guy up in the tree, I think is 66 years old.
Yeah. That's what he said.
No, he's physically one of the hardest working guys on our crew.
I pulled over and watched a couple times. I was curious about the tree. But as far as that goes, I know what kind of damage we had, and I know you guys, everybody, a lot of people think school districts have got this huge staff, but you got all these properties and small staff not dealing with this stuff all the time. So
Right.
kudos to you guys for
Yeah, I think we have 267 acres in the district, so 267.
Yep.
All right.
And I think with your leadership, having been a graduate of Tyson High School,
Mhm.
you've done a really good job with your career, and you have so much ownership living in the community and.
I beat them. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
No.
How did the pool fare through all this? It do pretty good and. Cause I didn't see any pictures of the pool.
So the pool, we shut everything down at the
Okay.
pool. It had some minor issues, nothing major. We did have a motor failure there, but it wasn't related to the storm. But yeah. No, I think we did good for the most part, and we did our best to try to get things shut down and bring things on gradually. That's really hard, like at the high school, because you throw your knife switch on switch gear, that might be, 8 panels like you would see in your house that come on. And so it's hard to get somebody everywhere to make sure things come on, and that's like the damage you saw, kind of outside of our control. But, and what they always tell us, and we have it at the new Harrison, is that we should have transient voltage suppression gear, which essentially if there's a spike or a drop in voltage, it cuts everything off at the feeder level coming into the building. It's, $500,000 for ×3 at Cottage Grove High School to do that, let alone, out at our rules where the gear is so old, it wouldn't work anyway. So do the best we can. All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, next up, we have public comment. Yes, time to read my monthly disclaimer. Thank you for taking time to attend. I would like to remind those in attendance that this is a board meeting that's held in public according to Oregon public meeting law, which is not the same as a meeting with the public. As such, the board does not engage with audience members, which can feel awkward at times, but it is the process prescribed in law. The board is not required to set time aside to hear comments from members of the public, but we wish to hear from community members, so there will be a public comment period after I stop talking. Speakers who wish to address the board must sign up before the meeting using the sign-up sheet outside the board or by contacting the district office. The board chair will recognize each speaker for a period of 3 minutes. We ask that speakers be seated at the designated table, clearly identify themselves, and state whether they reside within the district before speaking. If multiple speakers are presenting on the same topic, please select one person to represent the group. Please note that the board is not allowed to hear comments about any individual or comments deemed in violation of policy AC non-discrimination. If a person begins to comment about either of these protected areas, the board chair will ask them to stop and they must end their comment at that time. Furthermore, policy KL public complaints states the board will not hear personal complaints concerning school personnel nor against any person connected with the school system. To do so could expose the board to a charge of being party to slander and would prejudice any necessity to act as the final review of administrative recommendations regarding the matter. Okay, thank you much. First up, Ally. Is your mic on?
Button, sorry. Do I have to say that again? Alandra Albrecht, I live on Mosby Creek Road.
Okay. Thanks.
Recently I had to pull my son from Lincoln Middle School just because of continued bullying. At the beginning of track season, he was attacked by 3 other boys that really have hassled him before and apparently are kind of repeat offenders. Not just to my son, but one occurrence, like the first time my son met this kid, he didn't know him at all. It was track season, 6th grade for my son. And he just said, you look like right. So let's just walk right into that. And then just after that, he's had a target on his back. This kid just hated him from day one for no reason. My point is, another parent heard about this. I responded as quickly as I could to come to my son. Also, I was ferociously angry and wanted to speak to those kids because I felt like if they saw my raw emotion, maybe it would actually have an effect on them, right? But that is against the law. So I left with my son. We were instructed to do that. And I just thought, okay, we'll let the school deal with this, because I had full trust that they would appropriately. And another parent caught wind of it from his kids and reported it to the police. So now it's out of our hands. In short, my son missed probably more school than those kids did, more track practice. It's brought on more attacks from other kids in defense of these other children, saying like, well, you deserved it, or you're making too much big of a deal of it. Also, I'm a longtime community member. I've only really lived here 20 years, but my dad was born and raised here. My grandpa Jerry had the skating rink. So if it's about like roots and rights, to have my son have a safe environment or to be able to speak about what I think, how things should be conducted, I feel like I have every right to do that. My son wants to do well. He loves his teachers. He loves learning. He's really smart. And he's respectful to his teachers. I can't say he's perfect in his conduct at junior high, with other kids. He's got a mouth on him because that's all he's got. I have told him I'll pull you from school if I catch you fighting. When I probably should have told him if somebody gives you a hard time, punch him in the face, But I didn't want him to get in trouble. So it's the fact that they built this safety plan. Sorry, dang it. I just don't feel like things have been done. I've had to pull my son from school. And I'm not at enmity with you guys. I'm not at enmity with the teachers, right? I'm trying to be involved. I don't have anything against them, but I feel like this current system has failed him. And it sounds like it's failing others too. And I just would hope that more would be done in the future to protect other kids. If this had been a young woman that, I don't know if you know the nature of the attack, it's considered sexual assault. Two kids held him down, ripped his legs up by his chest and started ramming their fingers at his mouth. Okay?
Okay.
And they're right back at school with him, also saying, yeah, that you like that, stuff like that. It's gross. It's gross. Just let that sink in. How would you feel if another man did that to you and then said, I'll bet you liked it, and hearing that over
Specifics,
and over
I
again.
need to cut you off there because these.
I'm sorry, I was
specifics
trying not to be specific, but
exactly the
it's
kind of
been
thing-
killing in town because
Right.
people assume we're part of some rabble-rousing crowd or we're gonna do something. We haven't come at anybody legally,
I understand.
and yet we're made to feel like we're the bad guys. I don't think that's right. I don't think what happened to him is right.
Okay, time's up, Ally.
I'm sorry,
If you'd like to
Taylor. I
contact me
appreciate it.
Afterwards, please do. But-
I appreciate you giving me time.
Thank
Thank you, Taylor.
And to be clear, the specifics of the incident can't be brought to the meeting because if it goes up through the complaints process, we need to not be prejudiced with prior knowledge, or one side's version of what happened. So that's why we can't talk about that now. So thank you.
Somewhere, so it's not way out of proportion, or you should just get over that.
Understood. Thank you. Next up, we have Ben Robbins.
Hello, my name's Ben Robbins. We live in district. Lincoln came in and presented the referral data at the last work session, and that revealed that there are 9 kids that are responsible for 58% of the issues at that school. And that sounds wild, but dealing with my son being in the middle of that, one of those 9 kids was the one that attacked my son. It should be really easy to fix. There's 9 kids and you can't get a handle on 9 kids? Why aren't they in their own class? Why aren't they separated from everyone else? Why don't they have separate pastimes? They can torment themselves. They obviously don't know the expectations. The safety protocols they mentioned never happened with my son. He's still in 2 classes with the kid. They say they separate the aggressors. That's not the case. This PBIS system, if you look it up, I urge all of you to just Google it. Pros and cons of the PBIS. Promotes labeling. It takes the power away from the teachers. It's this, rainbows and unicorns approach to discipline where they want to re-educate without the discipline part. And that needs to be present. If there's nothing to deter them, it will continue. We still haven't seen the truth survey results on the safety that was missing from the presentation for whatever reason. These issues, it seems like they just try to drag it out as long as possible to get parents to eventually give up. It seems like it's not going anywhere. I also think that 3 minutes is not enough time to relay, as we just saw, that 3 minutes is not enough time to relay everything that's going on with our kids. I feel there needs to be a sit down type format where we can ask questions, get to the bottom, like, hey, why aren't these kids separated? Seems like a simple solution. Parents want transparency and to feel included. And when you get 3 minutes and thank you for your comment, we're moving on now. It feels like we're not being heard. I feel a back and forth where we would be able to ask some questions, as uncomfortable as it probably would be for the board. I think that's something that needs to happen. We need to hear real conversation, not blank statements with no response. That feels like we're just being ignored and brushed under the rug, and we're carrying on with something else now. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, that is it for public comment, and moving on to superintendent update, Mr. McCaslin.
Yeah. Just wanted to update you on a few things. First of all, as we talked about a few weeks ago, I missed you. I told you the wrong. I told you the wrong number in the past. But we trained 7 people this past week to do interviews with students and parents at the middle school. That was done last Tuesday, and they'll start doing those interviews in the coming few weeks. And they'll do interviews one-on-one with parents and students for the remainder of the year. We're hoping to get 30 plus of each. And those 7 people that are trained will do those interviews. And that information will help us get a wide view, not from all sorts of different kids and all sorts of different parents, about what's going on, what's going well, and what needs to improve. We have heard some specific examples of what needs to improve, and those are heard. For those reasons, I'm over at the middle school more. We're working on making sure that we have adequate supervision and that things are working the way they need to. But the change happens not in the board meeting, but in the school. And that's where we're focused. These interviews that we're doing are focused on student experience. They're focused on what students experience at the school, and it's a first step. You don't go do interviews, make a few changes, and call it good. You do that as a first step, and then you have to continue to know how things are going, whether that's there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I know I've heard over the past couple of weeks that an open forum is a good way to do that, and I disagree. And I disagree that it's a good idea because it's the same thing that happens in an open forum is the same thing that happens online. Is the vocal few get a chance to dominate the conversation without that conversation. And I'm not afraid of the conversation. But I want it to be a conversation. And so that's what we hope to accomplish by having one-on-one interviews now. Now, again, that's not the end of that. That's the first step. I've in talking with the new principal at Lincoln this week, we had a couple hours to chat. And her and I started talking about ways that she could do two-way communication with parents, whether that be setting up times that she can have coffee with parents, to have small groups come and talk to her, all sorts of different ideas we talked about. And she'll be working on that as she takes over in July and August. But that, again, this is the first step. Just as a note, I continue to try to be over at Lincoln to keep my eyes on this situation as well. I did supervision in the locker room the other day, just to see there've been some things that have been talked about, some unsafe things in the boys' locker room, and so what better way to find out than to go be there and to see what people are talking about. So I'll continue to do that.
So Brian, a question, how are these 30 parents, 30 kids chosen?
Good question. So with the kids, we're trying to get a wide variety of students because you don't just want to talk about a kiddo that's never been in trouble or a kiddo that's always been in trouble. You want those and everyone in between. And so that team of 7 who knows a good majority of the kids because of their role are reaching out to those kiddos. And some kiddos will come in and there'll be 30 interviews, and some of those kids will come in like not just by themselves, but maybe with a friend, depending on whether or not they know the interviewer. So for example, I may do some of the student interviews, but if I do student interviews, since I won't know most of the students, I would have them come in pairs, just so they'll be a little bit more comfortable. But some of the folks that are doing the interviews know most of the students, and so they might do some individual interviews. The parent interviews, that will be both by signing up. So if it hasn't gone out already, there'll be a link sent out to parents to be able to sign up for open time slots. And so folks that want to do that can, and then we'll fill in the rest of the time slots, again, trying to find a balance of parents across the spectrum of parents that we have in town. So that's how we're deciding on who to interview at this point. Just a couple quick other things. As you heard mentioned from Stephanie, we're having a handful of questions that are coming in with regards to payroll, but there's no pattern of things that need to be taken care of. They're just the regular things that tend to come in during payroll. Ranging from time card not being turned in, so they didn't get paid, or get paid extra because they didn't turn in their extra time card, or just things like that. There are still a couple of things that happen in a funky way from moving from our old system to our new system. So we're still finding a few of those issues, but very few. We met just with our classified and certified associations over the past week and shared with them exactly what we were looking at. And they were as satisfied as we are, which means we really like that there's just a few, and we're going to keep working to make sure there's as few as possible. But in the nature of sending out 400 and some paychecks and doing leave for 400 and some folks, there are going to be issues that happen occasionally, but they need to be the exception rather than the rule. Also, there were 10 administrators and over 20 teachers from all of our schools finished our work with a cell from the University of Washington this week. And it's just been a long journey. As you'll remember, 3 years ago, I've told this story, so I'll make it short. I saw online that the University of Washington had a tool they used to hear students and to get student voice. And so it was during COVID, and I was in my office and there were no students in schools. And so I said, hey, why don't I just call them? And so I called, and we started a 3-year relationship with them where they started with an equity audit to make sure that we knew how we were doing serving all of our students. And then they prescribed 3 years of curriculum for us to help us focus on what's most important in our school district and really focus our work. And that's been a real catalyst in us having 3 specific goals and being really focused. So we finished up that work this last week. We'll still use that facilitator from that group to work with our administrators and our instructional leadership team a little bit next year. I think for 5 visits, but for the most part, that work is done and we're continuing it on. It's not that we're just going to stop doing what we've been putting in place for the last 3 years. We then followed it up with our cabinet group meeting with her, with our ILT team meeting with her, and really talking about what we need to do. And I know I keep bringing up COVID, but that's behind us, but there's still things that we need to transition from. And one of those things that we really want to make sure that we're doing, and it will sound trite, because we do focus on student learning, is to really focus on student learning and make sure that every decision that we make is about student learning. And even if it's for social emotional learning or other things that we know need to be in place in order for students to learn, we need to ask ourselves every time that we're looking at any of the things that we're doing, are we doing this so that we can learn? Not because we know it would be really good for kiddos and their life and the things. Those things are important, but really what we want to focus on is making sure every student is at grade level. That's what our focus is. And so that's really something that we're going to focus on over the next few years, and you'll hear us talk more about that as we go. Budget update. We're continuing to work on the budget. I think Celia will tell you a little bit more about the timeline here in a few minutes, or in about a minute. And then the last thing I wanted to update you on, we're continuing to have our community use our facilities. And I know you brought this up, I think it was last time, Dwayne, which is great and we love it. And we like to make our facilities available to the public. Sometimes we're doing so, unfortunately, though, at a financial loss. And so that is something that we have to take a look at. It's an administrative rule in the policy. The policy is a good policy, but the administrative rule is something that that we're going to start taking a look at, Garrett and I, and then we'll bring that to you to talk more about it either in June or in August. The indoor events that happen, or the outdoor events that happen using our facilities, usually are fairly low cost, even though they have wear and tear on our facilities. You know, from soccer to football to everything in between. The ones that really are hard are the ones that are indoors, that often require custodial and even an attendant on campus the whole day. And this is usually either after hours or on weekends, which requires overtime, and we have to, you know, find somebody that's willing to do that and that sort of thing. And so we don't want to decrease at all the amount of facility use, but we do want to make sure that we're doing it in a better, more efficient way, and that we're making sure that we do so not at a financial loss. So we'll come back to you with that. I just wanted to let you know, and we're also using a fairly antiquated method to track all of this. We use paper and pencil. Which, yes, and so
It's yellow.
it's not yellow. There's a form, like it's in the policy, but it should be done online, and it should be done to where it's harder for our public, and then it's harder for us to track it. So making that easier for us and especially for others to use the facilities, I think will be good. So that's forthcoming. That's something that Garrett and I are working on. So that is my update.
Okay. Thank you very much. And next up is the business office update. Celia.
Yes, short and sweet. So we are working on the budget daily and minute by minute. It changes as we go along. It will be ready for publishing and for the budget committee on the 14th. And then our first budget committee will be on the 23rd. And then we have a second one scheduled if needed after that, but we are on track. And I was happy to hear about the payroll and Stephanie's report. For the last 2 months, we have put our payroll process in a documented form. So it's in a written form of what the process is from the beginning of the payroll cycle all the way through the end when all vendors and third parties have been paid. There's also payroll has also created a checklist that follows a flow of when things happen. So when, because there are several people involved in that process. So it goes from one person to the next with a sign off on a date to the next. And the end result is that checklist is printed at the end of the cycle and kept in the payroll binder. So at any time, we can go back and see when something was done and who did it and what time. And for vendors who are paid with manual checks, those checks are, for those checks to have cleared the bank, we check a week later and then follow through until we see that the check has cleared the bank, so that we know that everything has happened timely. And we did that for March and for April, and that has helped streamline and speed up the process. And then what we're doing now is also getting ready for next year. It's time to start thinking about rolling over payroll and general ledger and all of the things financial to the next fiscal year, which begins July 1st. So that involves both HR and payroll as far as rolling over the calendars and new salary schedules and updating funding codes and all kinds of things. So we are working on that as well, hopefully to have a smoother transition. Next year, payroll and HR are working on in advance on getting some paperwork ready for staff next year. Since most staff come back in September, there are new forms and things that they need to do to fill out to get going. So we're working on that process as well. So it's been a big team effort, and it's a big push to get 400 plus people from one year to the next. And we're trying to get a head start on that.
Okay. When the budget comes out, are you gonna want us to come to you with our questions before the meeting? Like we've been doing the past couple of years?
So when the budget document is ready, I'll send a notification out, and it'll be ready by the end of the day on the 14th. And you can either come pick it up, we can deliver it to you. It'll be, you can come pick it up the next day or anytime after that. And with that will be instructions for what to do. But if there are questions, if you could get those to me in advance, that way I could have answers at the budget committee meeting. Questions asked on the 23rd, if they're, simple or just a clarification, I can answer those. But if they're into more detail, I may not, be able to have the answer that evening.
Okay.
The format will be similar to last year, where you'll get the general fund at the beginning, as well as the split out with the function and the FTE and all that kind of information. And then for the 200 funds and then the other. So it should be in an order that I'm going to say easy to look at, but that's because I've been looking at it nonstop for the last several weeks. But it should make sense. And the budget message will be delivered on the 23rd. So it's a little out of order, but not since it's a second year of a biennium, there's just not a lot of changes. Most of it is just bringing things over, and our state school funds total didn't change and things. So it should be, I would say, fairly straightforward, but that's because, like I said, I've been living with it. So.
With widely differing backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends on providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the South Lane School Board of Directors proclaims May 6th through 10th, 2024 to be Teacher Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that the South Lane School Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers and for their dedication and devotion to their work. adopted this 6th day of May 2024.
So Brian, way in the past, we always did stuff for them. What are we doing with staff this year?
We're giving them a treat / gift on Wednesday.
Okay.
Not doing an event this year. That's something that
Right.
that Rita might pick up next week, next year.
Okay.
As you recall, we used to do events. And
Yeah.
we stopped for COVID, and now I think it's time to pick those back
I
up.
think
And they were fun. We've done a couple of, we've done some things that were pretty over the top, and folks didn't like those as much, but sometimes we've done some simple things like bowling. And bowling was really well received, so. Well, Rita and I had already talked, and we'll look at them something different.
Okay. Julie? Yes.
I wanted to say that at the high school, our leadership class is doing an appreciation for the teachers where this morning we had a group of students go around with a cart full of coffee from Raleigh Coffee Roasters and some muffins and fruit and stuff from Costco. We went around to each classroom, and we're doing it again at the end of the week too. So that's just the high school.
Wonderful. Good. Jeremy.
I'll just add to that. There are basically every day of the week, there's activities, gifts, appreciation things similar to what Laura was just mentioning at CGHS. So usually principals will line up a theme for each day. And some days it's students doing something. Some days it's classified staff doing something, administration, district. And so they kind of try to spread it out, but they definitely make a deal out of it. And so we have a portion of that we do for everybody, but then at each individual school, there's a lot more that happens as well. Parent Club is often highly involved in those, I need to mention.
Yeah, definitely. That's the way it is in Harrison. Okay, so next up is executive session. I think we have about 5 minutes till Nancy is scheduled to be here.
Brian, this is
Sure.
Probably our last meeting before graduation and all in the school year.
Well,
Would you give us some
We'll have another meeting before graduation.
budget meeting?
We have the June meeting as well. Go ahead and ask the question, but.
Was it before graduation?
Yeah.
When's graduation?
8 or 10, not that, yeah.
I just didn't know what it's appropriate for us to attend besides graduation for end of the year, but I'm asking.
Tanya will send you, have you already sent those?
Yeah, it was on the last little what's right or whatever guys can do that. All those dates on there.
I saw the graduation invitation, so.
And
that's what I know.
also the award ceremony.
Right. No, nothing else other than that. Okay.
Great. So I think we might as well take a 5-minute recess while we clear the room and wait for Nancy to be online. So we've got a quick little break.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
I'm thinking maybe we should read or at least give an overview of the agreement for the audience, so they have, so they know what we're talking about. So the board has before it a proposed separation agreement from our superintendent. Yeah, that's a good thing. And she also wrote a letter to go along with it, so I will start by reading the letter, and then there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in the separation agreement. Not a lot, it's not that long, but I'll probably summarize the separation agreement and the salient points. But the letter from Dr. Curtis. Dear school board members, thank you for the opportunity to serve the South Lane School District for over 4 years. I appreciate the board's support in considering a separation agreement that enables me to spend my time caring for my husband through this challenging health journey. This agreement will also enable SLSD to move forward and select a superintendent who can focus on the needs of the students and staff of the district. I'm so proud of our work together and all that we, the South Lane School District, have accomplished for students and families. Together, we weathered the continually developing challenges caused by a pandemic, a challenging political climate, staff shortages, turnover of staff, and the increasing needs of our students. We have used funds effectively and focused on the right work to develop the South Lane School District into a culture of care and belonging for students and staff. We have invested in strategies and professional development that leverage the expertise, skills, passions, and relationships of our staff to serve our students in the best way possible. The development of a collaborative team structure with professional learning communities in our schools to be the collaborative interdependent leadership teams from the cabinet, ad council, supervisors, and teacher leader teams. The SLSD is equipped to handle any challenges the district faces in the future. The collaborative culture the district has developed will influence the greater communities of Cottage Grove, Darina, and London. I trust that our children will experience the education necessary to prepare them for a bright future. Thank you for trusting me to lead this great work. Sincerely, Yvonne Curtis. And the agreement itself says that effectively resigns effective June 30th, 2024. Will be accepted by the district and may not later be rescinded. Says that she will remain on paid approved leave through June 30th. And some of that's family medical leave, some of that's paid leave Oregon. There's a little bit to be covered by the district. As consideration for her resignation and release and the other agreements contained, district agrees to pay her supplemental Plan B family health insurance through June 30th, 2027. And then the really long paragraph is about we release her and she releases us from any future claims of any kind, and that she has 7 days to reconsider if for any reason she should decide that this is not what's going to happen or not what she wants to happen. But this agreement was largely written by her and her attorney and presented to the board. And then there's an estimate of the costs involved. The salary piece is $12,989 to finish. That's the district's portion to finish out the rest of this school year. And the insurance piece for the family is about $16,000 per year. Comes out to 48,148 for the full 3 years. So altogether, right about $61,000 total dollars. Oh. Thanks, Joe. Let's see. The last piece of the agreement, this agreement is contractual, not a mere recital. Parties acknowledge they've carefully reviewed the document. It is not an admission of wrongdoing or inadequate performance by any party. This agreement contains the entire agreement between the parties, that being Dr. Curtis and the South Lane School District. So that's the proposal at hand, her letter, estimate of the costs. And with that,
So the estimate of the cost, just to clarify, was the 12,989. That is the total of the salary due for May and June, but if paid leave Oregon or any of the other paid, that's subtracted and the district owes her the difference, not to exceed.
no, this
That's
is
the
the
difference?
difference. So.
Okay, for the 2 months, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that is the proposal on the table.
Make a motion that we agree to.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second,
All right, discussion?
I think this is fair for the district and fair for the superintendent.
Thank you. Anybody else feel the need to weigh in? Okay,
Yeah, I was, you said I was prepared to come in and make a motion to not extend the contract beyond 2026. And after discussion and after some thought and doing the numbers, considering what what's in the budget, what I can talk about. I'm confident that I'm doing the right thing by accepting the resignation. The separation agreement with the request to cover the medical through 2027, considering what's going on with the family.
okay. Unless there's any further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes unanimously. So the presuming nothing happens in the 7-day reconsideration period, we have accepted the resignation of Superintendent Curtis. As for next steps, technically, she is the superintendent through June 30th. So the board does not need to declare an acting superintendent. And then we will need to decide how we're going to move forward for next school year. Are we going to be seeking an interim superintendent for a period of time, probably a year? Are we going to go straight for the permanent hire?
It's too late.
So, yeah, I
It's
think
too
it
late
couldn't
for
be
that.
done, couldn't be done in time for next year.
We get the leftovers, leftovers.
Right. It is true, as we know from the last time we did this, that most of the job searching and job offering happens in early spring.
We would need to start that like in fall.
Right.
Yeah, for the next year.
And that's kind of what I have in mind, but I think the next thing really is for us to pick a time to strategize how we're going to move forward from here. And whether that be like after the May 20th meeting, or whether we set that as its own meeting.
I think it's its own meeting, because we have to decide who we're gonna hire. You know,
To do the
that
search. Yeah,
And I have opinions on that.
Right.
To hire.
I believe you do. I think we all have some. Anybody that was here the last time anyway.
Sherry's gonna get her wish and we're gonna have more.
I'll second that.
Mhm. Okay, and so with that, oh, no, we're not adjourned. But we're back to regular business, for school reports and future agenda items. So, anybody want to go first this month? All right, Tammy, would you like to share what you've done since the last time we saw you, or anything else you want to chime in about?
We have a new puppy, so that's all I've been doing is standing outside in the rain. I really hope it stops raining soon. But I also want to tell the teachers, thank you ever so much for showing up every day. I know this time of year, I was a teacher, I know this time of year, it gets really hard to stay positive. The kids make it easy to say, have a happy summer. So thank you so much for coming every day with a smile and with a positive attitude. You guys rock. So thank you so much.
How about Jeff?
Yeah, so April 19th, I went up to Dorena for Earth Day and spent the morning up there. And that was really, they're doing a lot of good stuff there. They've got a composting system that the middle school kids are running. They've taken over 4,000 pounds of food waste out of the landfill, 400 some gallons of milk that they're giving to the neighbors' pigs. Just really good work up there. The kids are really enjoying it. It was a fun day to watch them, and those teachers have the most patience I've ever seen dealing with kids up there. It was wonderful. 26th, I went up to Bake Stewart Park with this. I worked with Jim Settlemeyer on the science thing that the high school was doing. We had 5 groups come through, and they did water testings for turbidity and pH and temperatures, and that was a really good thing to help. Weather wasn't as good as the Earth Day, but we got through it. The Legion on my double hat was going up to Kennedy and doing scholarships at the Al Kennedy High School. And, you know, I said the last one that the high school was the toughest year ever. Why should Kennedy be any different? Those kids are amazing out there. One of the kids we interviewed went from, he was going to drop out, to his mom say, give this one more try, and he's graduating early. So the stuff that they're doing in there, I went in and talked to the principal afterwards to let her know. And then she took me down to the music room to show us the guitars that the community foundation gave her a grant for, and really good. And then going to CTE with the high school a couple weeks ago, that was really good to go through that and see what they're doing at the high school.
Excellent. Thank you. Joe, how about you next? I'm trying to bounce around. I try and change up the order every time, you know?
All right. Yeah, so it's been kind of a wet and then dry. I mean, it's kind of been back and forth. Yeah, it's been great rough-and weather. But no, I've had an opportunity to go watch the Lion Pride, and I have been to several of those. And I would have to say that this last Lion Pride pageant was one of the best that I've witnessed. And the kids, I mean, just put on an amazing show, and I really enjoyed that. I did get to go up to Dorena Dam and met Mr. McCaslin over there, and we got wet, and we got to walk through the dam and spend the morning with some young people and seeing them, you know, testing the water and doing all those kind of things, and got to visit a little bit and talking to the one gal that was telling us about the scale of the trees and what their value was. And that was really neat, because I think, you know, with the Doug fir tree, that's what kind of put Oregon on the map. And so I was really excited about the kids learning about the value of that Douglas fir tree. And so I thought that was a pretty good thing for our young people. And last Friday, I got to go over to Cottage Grove High School and watch a Wally Cicchetti Invitational track meet in the pouring down rain. I'm just glad it wasn't like 10 degrees cooler.
See him there?
I seen, yes. And I watched I stayed till the last event, which is the 4x4 relay, which was I should say, not one of my favorite events, but it is when you're a spectator to watch the talent of these young people. And I actually got to watch this kid from Marshfield. His name's Bodie. They were in second place. He was the last leg, and this kid come off the track, and I told my wife, I said, we need to get a split time on this young man because he is setting records that we haven't seen in a long time. And he ran a 47.74 for a quarter-mile split, which would shatter our 54-year-old high school record, which is like 49.7 or something like that. But this kid, yeah, it was really fun to watch. And hats off to Cottage Grove because I had some inside numbers given to me. And if everything goes well, Cottage Grove should be looking really good going into the district track meet this next weekend. So I'm excited for that.
When you say not your favorite event, you mean not your favorite event when you were in track? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that. No, I enjoyed running. It was a fun time.
All right.
Well, I did hear today that the amount of rain on Friday broke a 40-year record.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, a friend of mine today said their least favorite words right now are atmospheric river.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Would you like to go next?
I can do that. I attended the CTE visit at the high school with Jeff and Sherry, and thank you for the invitation, Brian, and setting that up. We got to go through a computer technology class, a business class, learn that kids are doing the vending machines. It's nice to see that they're taking that and taking the profit and making good things happen. We went into the green room. That was pretty neat to see I had a little experience with green rooms and video technology, but this was back in the 90s. So it was neat to see that big video camera still in that room there at this high school, and to see the stuff they produced out of that small green room. It makes you reconsider everything you see on TV now. When you see the folks sitting in the newsroom there, it's not that fancy. We got to go to a welding class. That was pretty neat to see the cars and the little carts that they built, and then we went into we saw that the robots were actually pretty cool. We went into this classroom that had the robots, and they were challenging each other with balls and moving stuff around, who could score more or get more balls in the net. And you could tell that the kids were really engaged. And I shared with that teacher that it's really nice to see something that engages the kids. Sometimes with some kids, if you can just find something to get them to school, you can keep them there all day. Or if you can find something that they like that they're looking forward to in 5th or 6th period, you can get them there in the morning and they'll stay for the duration. And then we went to the wood shop. It was that Dimmick's class, the wood shop where they're building the sheds. And that was pretty interesting to see the connection with the community, even outside of the city of Cottage Grove, where they're doing sheds for a good cause, and supplies and all that are donated, and they just the outside sources depending on our labor, and then the kids are in turn learning a skill, and if it hooks them, then great. And then they're learning a lot of all of the classes. I saw skills that could be used outside of the classroom and in employment. And then let's see, I know I'm missing one. After we left the welding, the cooking was pretty neat. Went in the cooking room and I learned all about. No, there was no cooking, but they do a lunch, and we were supposed to be invited to the lunch. So the neat thing about that class, it was different than any other class. There was the one class where you saw this activity. They were actively in the process of cooking something, and to see the kids working together, and each one had a specific assignment, and to see them working, and then also I noticed that when we were in there, we kind of interrupted their process. It was a tight space, and then we learned all about how they try to turn it into more of a commercial kitchen and try to get it in, instead of being a home ec and kids learning to cook just to cook, but also taking it outside and using it in employment. And we talked about a taco truck and a walk-up food window, so that you could go over there and walk up and order food or whatever down the road. So that was pretty neat. Lions Pride, I went to last year's Lions Pride. I was out of town. I'm sorry I missed it, but congratulations on that record amount of money. Last year I went to Lions Pride and my nephew took both awards from that, and I learned a lot about the funds and where those go, and looked into it, and it's for a good cause. So what you guys did, the commitment you guys made, I know you guys started out at like Tapatio and then doing acts at tables and doing whatever they wanted you to do for tips.
Oh, well, that was the contestants, not us.
Okay, the contestants, but it's still Lions Pride. Were you involved in Lions Pride at all? In probably, so that, yeah, it takes everybody. It's not just the contestants. They could do it, but really everybody makes it happen. And so congratulations and let everybody know that was involved. That's a good deal. And then we're gonna talk about the fee schedule. Sounds like Matt or somebody brought that up, or I think Brian brought that up about what it's costing us to host these events on school property and so I had asked to talk about the fee schedule, so I trusted that would be on a future agenda. And then I had a patron of the district call me, and I heard him a couple times on the radio show talking about CPR, and he wanted to know to what extent CPR was taught to the students at school, if any. So I wanted to get if somebody could get me a little information on CPR, and he was suggesting that everybody from 6th grade and up, if they're at the lake and something happens, or with drug use or accidents that occur, that he thinks it's a good idea. And I don't think that there is any, but I don't want to speak on that. So if somebody can get some info for me. Okay. Yeah, staff, but he was talking about the students specifically, and he thought that it would be something good for them to have outside of school if they're on a trip or out playing around, ATVs on the coast, whatever. So and then thank you. The last thing I want to say is thank you to the teachers. If there's any teachers watching, sometimes I joke about wanting to do your job or doing it all over again and doing your job so I can have summers off and weekends off. I got to be honest with myself. I couldn't do your job. So thank you. Thank you for doing the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry, how about you go next?
Can't believe it's gonna be the end of the year.
Yeah, I know.
Where did that go? Like, Wayne, the CTE was great, and I really appreciate Brian and Kevin setting that up. And then next week we go to Kennedy, correct? I think it is, yeah. So,
I don't remember when that was.
yeah.
It'd be sunny.
Yeah, so it's so great to see the kids and their involvement, I think. The R&B, I've gone to that every year they've had it. And it's not only the performance of the students, but the interaction they have with the adults in that program. I mean, it's, the respect, the mutual respect they have. But this year was pretty spectacular. It was really neat. I don't know how much they raised, but they did a really, really good job. I've been doing some online training from OSEA. Last couple of weeks was policy. Coming up is communications. And then there's one on loss of staff, how you do the reduction in force. So anybody could take that, and it's free. And I think it's some really good classes. Scholarships. I've been on the foundation board for a long time. And when we first started with giving out scholarships, I think we gave out 7 and about $6,000. We gave out about 112 for 52,000. And we have $2.5 million in OCF money. So we are really, really doing good with kids giving out scholarships. And then I don't want us to lose sight that we did not get our staff survey done this year like we were supposed to. But next year, I'd like us to be sure to do that staff survey so we don't drop it, because I think it needs to be done year after year. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Ellie.
So before, I don't want to forget to thank the teachers for all the work that they do with our kids, and we wouldn't be here without them. I would like to take the opportunity to encourage parents to have their juniors do the state testing that's coming up. It starts the week of the 13th. It's really, really important for the district to see how those kids are doing, so that we can focus on student learning like Brian was talking about. It's really challenging junior year. A lot of kids don't want to take it because they're almost out the door, even though they've got their senior year left. But it's a really important aspect of how the district can evaluate the programs that we have in place and what we can do better. And so we always want to improve, and this is a way to help do that. And I also want to congratulate the seniors that are going to be graduating. It's almost graduation time. And for juniors, they're coming up on a big year of testing and deciding what they want to do, whether they want to go and get a job after school or go into a trade or continue their educational path in college. And so I want to encourage the kids that are thinking about college to study for the SAT and take it, because it looks like it's going to be more of a thing in admissions. They had kind of dropped off after COVID and during COVID. But that's a lot of talk about what's going on at my house. It's a stressful time, but it's a time where you can really imagine your future and just kind of dream and plan about what you can be. And so I really encourage all the juniors to take advantage of their really excellent counselors at the high school who talk to them and let them help you figure out what your path is going to be. And I'm really excited about going to the districts for track and wishing, are baseball and softball finished, or are they still competing? I can't. Anybody know from the school? They're okay. Good luck.
The baseball team have one more game.
One more game?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Cindy.
So thanks a lot. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have. Okay. District track meet is coming up in North Bend. Friday and Saturday. What time?
11.
At 11?
Yes.
Glad I could get that in there. I want to start off by thanking the teachers this week and every week. I am fortunate enough to spend a little bit of time in my kiddos' classroom, and I've done it for my other kiddos as well when I could. And just, I mean, besides the part that we think of, just managing a room full of 24 kids involves skills that I'm not very good at. So I appreciate them for all that they do, including that piece. I did go to the CTE tour and thought that was fantastic. I'd seen a lot of that before, but it had been a few years and there are some new things. And so that was wonderful. We also saw some of their work at the Lion Pride pageant with the video that went along with it, and that was clever and loads of fun, and as was the pageant itself. That was my first one, but not only did they raise $22,000 while we were there, like at the pageant, they said, well, we had a goal of 17,000 and we're there, so we're going to 18.
Yeah.
And we got all the way to 22. So bravo, everybody who helped with that. That was wonderful and fantastic. I've been to the R&B many times. Unfortunately, I was sick this year, so I wasn't able to use my ticket. I heard your commercial was hilarious.
It was?
Even more so because maybe they didn't know all the lines. That may have been part of the entertainment, at least at the session that the rest of my family got to go to. And there was a chess tournament yesterday that at least a few of our individuals went to and competed in. And again, I was sick, so I wasn't able to be there. So I'm looking. I'm better now. I'm still a little stuffy, but I'm well.
Board is back.
No, I feel fine, but I still sound a little rough. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to hearing how they do. And with that, thank you, everyone. It's been a big meeting, and we will see you all next time. Meeting adjourned.